more confident now than maybe they were back at the beginning of the spring. How have you been able to change that?
Well, I think confidence comes, when you walk on the field and you know you're going to give, great effort. I think that would be number one. And then two, along those same lines, is once you get a feel for, what the expectations are from an execution standpoint. They can kind of police themselves a little bit more than I guess opposed to the coaching staff. In some ways, believe me, they need friendly reminders quite a bit too. But I thought that was a positive. Guys, came out here day one. The key is to give it day two just the same, and start stacking practices that way. But I thought there's some positive day one coming out of summer ball. Certainly day one of fall camp's better than day 15 of spring ball, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be.
With the kind of the way last year went, maybe it's a little bit hard to have that swagger, that confidence. But do you kind of see these guys out here with maybe some of that mentality that you're looking for?
I think so. And then again, I just keep coming back to when you walk on that field and you know that from an effort standpoint that you're not going to be out competed that day. Execution is going to come and go at times, and certainly we expect our offense to execute at a very, very high level as well. But you're going to walk out here and give tremendous effort and create a standard for how you play. They kind of go hand in hand. Knowing that. Again, a 5-yard gain has a chance to stay a 5-yard gain because we're flying around to the football and those things. So again, through day one, I thought there was some steps in that direction.
On day one, you see a guy like a Darian Moulton or a Cam Powell in the two deeps. Is that just getting a look at them, or is that where they stand?
Well, some of that's just strictly depth. Some of those guys we want to take a look at. Some of that's guys that otherwise would be a two depth-wise that our feeling coming out of spring was it was more not because they earned a 2 spot. It's just from the strictly a lack of depth standpoint. So we want guys out here earning those spots, whether it's with the 1s or with the 2s. And those guys that we thought didn't establish themselves as true backups, we're going to take a look at some of those young guys coming in. A couple of those guys, for day one of college football, did some nice things. The moment didn't seem too big, and obviously they got to continue that.
Do you feel like some of those young guys you got to look at maybe bring a little more speed, if nothing else, to the defense?
Well, without question. I mean, we're going to find speed, and I don't, if it's a senior, junior, freshman, we're going to find those guys that can run, and we're going to plug them in and find the best position for them. And we kind of talked about it in the spring. We're going to try to find those 11 best and try to stack the 11, the next 11 behind them, regardless of position. And so we'll constantly evaluate that. But those freshmen are a big part of that evaluation.
How much of that speed is just due to this thing that they're maybe not overthinking it out there on the field? That was maybe a common theme of last year, was overthinking it. Do you feel you've kind of cleared up that clutter a little bit?
Well, and I can't speak to last year, so I don't know. All I will say is what we try to do defensively as much as we can, and it's probably very similar in a lot of ways to Coach Leach's philosophy offensively, is put them in a position where they can be successful. Like you're saying, and you kind of alluded to it. If they're thinking, they're slow. So we want guys as best we can, and that comes down to coaches teaching them, but making sure they know where they need to be, and then it gives them a chance to be a little bit more aggressive. So that's our aim. That comes down to the coaches. We got to make sure that we're doing the right things in the classroom and walkthroughs and all those things, so they can do just that.
Generally, how did you feel about that one-on-one wide receiver DB period?
Oh, just from a positive, negative type of thing, or?
Yeah, it seemed like the DBs won a little more battles one-on-one against a receiver than they were at the end of spring.
Well, the thing we say to those DBs, we tell them, and I've been a number of schools watching one-on-ones. I've been in a lot of NFL practices, and in general, that's an offensive drill. So what we tell our DBs is competitive drill work. What we're not trying to do is we're not going to go out there guess. We guess right, and we're going to say it's a great rep. We're not going to go out there where they drop a football and we get the point, and then we're going to say, great rep. We're going to, as best we can, work on our technique. And so that's my biggest thing. I won't know that till I watch the film. There were some good guys. You want to compete. It's competitive drill work. It's not going against a scout team, anything like that, or going through a jog through. So you want to see them compete, and that's a positive. I thought there were some battles won, but you watch the film to see the technique.
Sure.
From last day of spring to first day of fall, who's maybe made the biggest improvement?
Well, I think it's tough to single somebody out after day one. I thought these guys, again, they had the mindset they were going to come out here running around, you know, and there's a trickle-down effect when that happens, when you get both older guys and you know, the guys running with the ones, when they're flying around, you know, it's tough to be a 2 or a young guy and say, well, I'm not going to, you know. So that was the thing that we harped on so much in the spring, and so that was a positive through day 1. And it better not drop day 2.
Just one last one, Alex. Chandler's already at 260. How much more size can he put on and stay at linebacker, do you think?
Well, that's something we're constantly evaluating. We want guys that can run. That's the number 1 priority. So that's for everybody, not just Chandler.
Is there any chance that he moves closer to the ball?
He'd have to get a lot bigger to move closer to the ball.
Anything else for Coach?
Good.
Thanks, Coach.